Hey everybody, Matt Johnston here. I have another COVID-19 legal update. Our friends at the Centers for Disease Control have issued a pretty lengthy document that is looking to implement a reopening plan on a nationwide basis. They provide a lot of guidance, a lot of recommendations for various phases of opening. So from fully closed to fully open and various steps in between, actions and activities that employers and businesses can take to address reopening and getting back to business. Now, I think these are fantastic guidelines, if in some ways a little impractical for some purposes, but that's neither here nor there. What I do want to talk about is, what do these guidance documents mean? Well, first of all, let's be clear that they are guidance only. They are not requirements. They are not any sort of legal step that has to be taken or a program that has to be implemented by a business. Now, one of the benefits of following this guidance is that it provides a standard of reasonableness. One of the most common questions that I am getting right now is, if I reopen, what happens if one of my employees gets sick? What happens if one of my customers gets sick? And I've addressed this in other videos, but oftentimes we've been operating with well, this is probably a good idea, or this is a reasonable idea. Well, now with the CDC guidance and with guidance from OSHA, there are some reasonable standards that have been placed out there. Now, the difficulty that I think many small businesses are going to face is that our friends at the CDC are very, very smart people when it comes to diseases and epidemics and pandemics and things like that. They are honestly a little far removed from the day-to-day practicalities of running a business. So one of my favorite pieces of guidance that has happened through the CDC is guidance about manipulatives for schools and, say, day camps or daycare centers. So manipulative is anything that the kid is going to handle or use. Oftentimes, there's not a lot of manipulatives to go around. In fact, oftentimes there is one manipulative for every 3 or 4 or 5 kids. So how are you going to follow the guidance that says don't allow kids to share manipulatives? Or if you do, make sure you clean and disinfect them after every use by each child. I could just see some poor teachers somewhere going out of their mind trying to address that particular guidance. So I do worry that localities will take these particular guidance documents and turn them into regulations. And if your locality or your state does that, you are then going to be obligated to conduct that. But if it doesn't become a regulation or an effective law, then employers are going to have to look at what's reasonable. And that is the key question. What is reasonable for an employee or employer rather to do to protect their employees and to protect their customers? What's reasonable? And reasonable is going to be what an ordinary person of average intelligence in a similar situation would do. So if you are in say a bar or restaurant industry, is it reasonable for you to space your tables out so that there are fewer people in the space dining? Yeah, that's probably pretty reasonable. Is it reasonable for you to sanitize every single plate, glass, cup, or piece of silverware? Yeah, that's probably reasonable, because you should have that equipment already, and dishwashing equipment anyway. But is it reasonable for your employees to be wearing, full suits? Or is it reasonable for your bartenders to be engaged in measurement of patrons? It probably isn't. Is it reasonable for your bartender to be cleaning the bar top as it's done? Yes. Is it reasonable to disinfect it? Well, that's a different kind of question. And all of these standards are what is reasonable, what is something that an ordinary person is going to expect. And that leads into the problem of defining who the ordinary person is And we all know that there's a wide range of opinion when it comes to how are we going to address reopening. So I do want folks to understand, and small business owners in particular to understand, that right now these are guidance, and to the extent that you can implement most of the guidance documents without any significant cost in terms of money or manpower, that's going to be reasonable. So it's that you're going to be judged against that standard. It's going to be difficult to see where these things are going to shake out. But I think a reasonableness standard is going to be the most likely standard that's going to be applied. And if you're following CDC and local health department guidance, you're probably going to be within the realm of reasonable. It is going to be impossible for you to absolutely prevent any sort of transmission in your business short of closing your business. And I know a lot of small business owners don't want to do that. So take some reasonable steps. Be mindful of what the guidance documents are saying, what they are asking you to do, and keep an eye on them because they probably will change over time as we learn more about this particular disease. In the meantime, stay safe out there, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.